Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing an astrology report for the full moon in Libra, which takes place on Thursday the 21st of March at 1:42 AM Universal Time. I'll be outlining some of the key aspects and themes highlighted by this particular full moon and giving an overview of what it all means. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that astrology doesn't control our lives. It gives us a framework to help us understand what is unfolding around us and what kind of lessons are there for us to learn. It helps us understand what kind of spiritual lessons are there, but for anything to actually change or for us to grow from the astrology, it requires that we participate in the process, so we take time to connect with it and recognise what kind of lessons apply to us at this point in our lives, and then seek to make the most of it in order to maximise our growth. But without our participation, we don't make the most of the astrology, so we don't really see its effects overtly in our own lives. Now, in terms of the astrology of the full moon in Libra, so the sun is in Aries at this time, so it's only just entered Aries a few hours prior, so it's right in the first degree of Aries. It's the first degree of the entire zodiac, so it's all about the new beginnings. So this is a time for the ego is reborn. It's a time for stopping let go of focusing on dreams, or let go of just meditating work. This is a time for taking action. It's a time to make things happen, and the sun's given us that kind of focus to, right, let's do this, let's get things going. But if we're not careful, we can end up taking things to the excess, and this is where issues like anger, impatience, impulsiveness, or insensitivity come in, so we don't look at the bigger picture. We just focus purely on ourselves to the exclusion of other people. The moon in Libra serves as a counterbalance. It reminds us to look at the broader perspective and look at the impact what we do has on other people. It's also looking at seeing where can projects that we're pursuing actually be better fulfilled if we work in a spirit of cooperation and harmony, rather than trying to do it all off our own steam. So for synergy to exist, there needs to be two or more people involved in any given dynamic, because we can't create synergy in a project if there's only ourselves doing it. So it's understanding that more can be achieved, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, especially when we work together as whole individuals, but working as teams or in cooperation to achieve a goal that's bigger than just one person alone. It's having that team spirit rather than just me, that allows us to achieve goals beyond the remit that's possible for one person to do alone. But obviously we need to make sure we're working with the right people, as it were, so it's people who also want to achieve similar goals or want to achieve the same goals as ourselves, and are also able to recognise that working with us and us working with them actually would suit both parties better than going their own separate ways about doing things. So it is all about that fundamental balance between self and other, which is one of the primary polarities in the whole zodiac. It's the first one that we deal with in the astrological wheel, is about that self and other. And it's understanding that Aries is the cause, Libra shows us the effects. So hence the scales of Libra, it's balancing the two out. So the full moon in Libra potentially gives us an opportunity to see what are the net effects of the actions that we take. Are they the kind of effects we want to achieve, or do we need to change our actions in order to change the result? Because it's a bit like the old phrase, true insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So Libra shows us the effects of a certain course of action. If we don't like it, why would you pursue the same course of action again and again, hoping for a different outcome? So it's a reminder to observe what the effects of our actions are. If it's not the kind of effects we want to be achieving, or it's creating harm for ourselves, then it's time to go back to the drawing board and think, okay, what is a better course of action or what can I learn from the effects of a certain course of action so that we don't create the same effects again going forward? So how do the actions or decisions need to be modified in order to incorporate the awareness that seeing the effects of a course of action has? Because Libra is all about, or Aries, sorry, is about cultivating self-awareness. There's only so much awareness of ourselves we can achieve without interacting with other people, because other people mirror back to us traits within ourselves that are often buried or suppressed that we wouldn't necessarily realise was there without interacting with other people. So it's also looking to see things from a more holistic perspective, or achieve a more holistic sense of self through facing what's mirrored to us and incorporating or changing it through love if it's based in shadow, or if we get inspired by the person because they're showing us a positive quality within us that's going unexpressed. We utilise that awareness to incorporate the understanding into our sense of self, so we have a more complete idea of who we are. And the more clearly we know who we are, the easier it is to identify the goals that are right for who we are. Because if we don't know who we are, how can we realistically know what we should be doing? Now, in terms of other aspects to the full moon, the ruler of this full moon is Venus, because she's the ruler of Libra. She's an Aquarius at the moment, so her focus in terms of values and relationships is more on achieving freedom in relationships, through the honouring of each person. It's encouraging each person in a given relationship, whether it be romantic, whether it be platonic, whether it be friendships, business, anything like that. She's encouraging us all to embrace our own originality, to embrace our own uniqueness, and to foster or create an environment for the other person to also do the same, to embrace their own uniqueness. So it's about honour thyself and honour one another. So this is a key element here. So Aries, where the sun is all about honouring the self and making sure that what we're doing allows us to assert ourselves and allows us to be who we are. Venus reminds us to honour one another, to appreciate and respect the other person. They may see things differently to how we do it, but their perspective may unlock a different level of awareness that wasn't possible without being prepared to communicate and seek to understand each other and seek opposing viewpoints in order to see things more clearly. Now, Venus is in a strong square to Mars, who's the ruler of Aries. So Mars is in Taurus, Venus in Aquarius. So the two rulers of the signs involved in the full moon are squaring off with one another. So a key challenge at this time, which also kind of feeds into the polarity of Aries and Libra, is the balancing of the masculine and the feminine within ourselves. It's a challenge of allowing, because Venus deals with the values and preferences and relationships, and the Venus's function in the psyche precedes the action and desires, or informs the actions and desires of Mars. So if the two are at cross purposes, then it makes it difficult to bring our actions into alignment with our own values. So part of the full moon will be about looking or asking ourselves, are we doing things that go against our own values, or are we doing things that honour who we are, or that chime or resonate with our own set of values, or are we doing something that goes against it and causes that discomfort, which we sometimes try to compensate to take even more action. The full moon is also going to be conjunct, so the sun is going to be conjunct Chiron, not quite exact, that's the day after the full moon, but it's still a powerful aspect in this particular lunation. So the sun's conjunction with Chiron brings the wounds to the sense of self into sharp relief. It's looking at where do we try to seek a sense of self through relationships, which is the Libran shadow of Aries. Where do we seek to achieve, where do we have a struggle to have any sense of self-identity? Or it may be that we fear taking actions that could bring greater success for ourselves, because we may fear being visible, because it took that extra light or that extra visibility of ourselves can bring those core wounds or illuminate them more clearly than if we just hide from ourselves, or hide from the world around us. It's a time to face these wounds. It's also looking at paying close attention to our thoughts or our words. What do we typically say after the words I am? Because I am is a key statement of Aries, being about identity. Are the words empowering or disempowering? Do we build ourselves up or encourage ourselves or motivate ourselves and believe in ourselves? Or are we always talking ourselves down? Are we always using negative self-talk, which reinforces a victim mentality or reinforces a disempowered perspective? And as a result, it undermines our willingness to take action, or undermines our agency to the point where we feel like we're not able to take action. We are, it's just that wound stops us. So obviously this is a collective wound, so some people have this innately. There'll be people who are born around about the 68 through to about 70, be about 77, I believe. No, it'd be closer to 76. But for most of us, this is the first time we experience. For quite a lot of us, it's the first time we're experiencing this particular transit, and it's the first time Chiron's going into Aries since Chiron was first spotted in 77. So this is a time for us to overcome any wounds to the sense of self, to heal the ego so that it can serve as a vessel for the soul. Because in Aries, the ego is reborn, but if that ego is weak or virtually non-existent, or well, I say non-existent, but is hidden in the shadows, or is based on the sense of what we can't do as opposed to bigging ourselves up, then this is also an issue that we need to overcome, and this full moon in Libra may well highlight that quite sharply. Lastly, we have Uranus in Taurus, semi-sextile to the Sun, in conjunct or quincunx the Moon, whatever term you prefer to use for the 150-degree aspect. Uranus is showing us the next step along from Aries, and Uranus is in Taurus is about that awakening us to our deeper, awakens to our values and our deeper understanding of how values work and how they colour our perceptions. It's also about deepening our understanding of our connection to the earth, because Taurus is at the closest or strongest resonance with the physical earth, as the earth underfoot, and the strongest connection to the physical body. And it's about, Uranus in Taurus reminds us about becoming grounded in the body. So it's not a case of rejecting the body or seeking to rise above it. It's about becoming more centered and focused or present in the body, because only through being present and that we can engage with the natural opportunities for growth, to align with the natural cycles. And it's only through being in the body that we can truly be present in our environment and to recognise what changes we need to make, what actions we need to make. Because if we're trying to run away from the body, it's difficult to then achieve anything tangible on earth, and we always feel rootless or listless and struggle to have a clear sense of who we are, what we're capable of doing, because Taurus gives us the grounding gifts of self-esteem and self-worth. It also, as high level, brings us patience, as the ability to detach from the world around us, not in the sense that we escape it, where we don't base our sense of worth on what the physical resources we have at our disposal. It's learning to enjoy the fruits of our labours, enjoy the world around us, but recognise that it's not ours to own, it's not ours to control. And the more we work with nature and seek to operate within the natural cycles, the easier life becomes, because we're no longer fighting against inertia, we're no longer trying to fight to make things happen faster than they're meant to. It's about relaxing that need to control, relaxing that need for instant gratification, and through working in alignment with natural cycles and becoming more grounded in natural environments, we can alleviate our stress. This gives us an outlet for that constant stress that Aries is under, because it's looking to assert itself and face the stresses that push us to develop more courage. So Uranus is about tapping into deeper, more universal values as a guiding principle that guides our actions, so that we don't just pursue blind egotism or blind desire. We have a solid value system in place that grounds our actions, that guides our desires and actions, so that they go with the natural flow of things rather than trying to fight against them. So there's a lot to take on board at this particular full moon. As always, it's important to recognise free will. We have to choose to engage in the process in order to maximise learning from it. It doesn't just happen passively, it doesn't happen through osmosis. We actually have to participate in the process in order to maximise it. If we don't participate, some things may change, but it'll be coming in from out to within, where ideally what we need to be pushing towards is as within, so without. So it's transforming ourselves internally so that the external world can then be transformed by that change and that higher level of awareness and that higher quality vibration that we're then giving out to resolving issues on the inside. So the full moon bring you many new insights and an opportunity to see, observe the nature of the relationships we have, and also see whether the actions that we take are typically guided by an awareness of the impact it can have on others, and making sure that they're guided by love and awareness of the wider balance and harmony and the potential for karma if we do things in a selfish way. And may also be an opportunity to overcome any wounds that highlight or that prevent us from taking the action in the first place, or undermine our belief in ourselves, and instead seek to become the best versions of ourselves through healing the ego, letting go of the self-limiting beliefs and self-limiting perceptions, embracing more empowered perceptions, and using that and channeling that empowered sense of self into goals that also help other people as well. So it's not just doing things for our own sake, it's doing things from the bigger picture, the wider understanding that if we empower ourselves, that then creates an environment or gives other people permission to do the same. So the more we do to empower ourselves with an understanding of the impact it has on others, the more we open or shine a greater degree of light, which gives other people that permission to do the same. It's not saying that we personally give them permission, but if sometimes all someone needs is to see someone else achieving what they thought they couldn't do, and taking encouragement from it. So it's encourage one another rather than pitting ourselves against one another. It's helping one another and encouraging one another in both individual and collective pursuits, because this way we all grow, we all benefit, and we all shine a light better, and the collective light becomes brighter, as it were, to overcome the collective shadow. So may the full moon bring you many insights and blessings. Take care.